Hello and welcome to GameRules.com. My name is Mark, and today I'm going to teach you how to play a dice game called Ship, Captain, and Crew. For this video, I'm going to give you a thorough tutorial with an example playthrough, and I'm also going to show you a few different ways to keep score. You can play this game for points, and you can play this game for money. Let's dive in and learn how to play. To play Ship, Captain, and Crew, all you need are 5 6-sided dice, and depending on how you're going to keep track of points, a piece of paper and a pencil, or poker chips, or cash. Let's start with the basics of gameplay. On your turn, within 3 rolls, you are trying to get a 6, a 5, a 4, and then the remaining 2 dice, you are trying to get as many points as possible with them. Your 6 is your ship, 5 is captain, 4 is crew, and the 2 remaining dice are what's called cargo. Here's the catch though. During your 3 rolls, you cannot set aside a 4 until you have a 5, and you cannot set aside a 5 until you have a 6. And if you fail to get those 3 dice, then you will not score any points for the round. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few example turns. For our first example, we're going to see what happens if a player gets their ship, captain, and crew in a single roll. Okay, so on their first roll, this player rolled a 6, so they can set that aside. They rolled a 5. They can set that aside because they have their 6. And they rolled a 4, so they set that aside. Now, this player is in a good spot because here is their cargo. Right now, they would score 4 points if they decided to end their turn. But they still have 2 more rolls. Because they have 2 more rolls, they can choose to re-roll their cargo dice, which they do. Ooh, this time they rolled an 11. Now, this player still has 1 more roll. If they choose, they could re-roll their cargo again. But for this example, they are going to keep that score. Since they rolled their ship, captain, and crew, they get this score for the round, which is 11 points. Once a player is finished with their turn, you collect the dice and pass them to the next player. Now let's see what will happen if you do not get your ship, captain, and crew in the first roll. All right, for this first roll, they did get a ship, so the player sets that aside. Notice they did get a crew. However, they did not roll their captain, so they do not get to lock that 4 in. This player must take a second roll and hope that they get their captain and maybe even their crew as well. All right, on this second roll, they got their captain and they got their crew, so they can set that aside. Now, this player does have 1 more roll. They only scored 2. If they ended their turn right now, they would only have 2 points for the round. So they're going to go ahead and use their third roll to improve their score. Hopefully, they don't just get snake eyes again. All right, so for this round, they got 10. Let's go ahead and take a look at another example and see what happens if you don't get your ship, captain, and crew until the third roll. All right, they did get a ship. No captain, though. Second roll, they did get a captain, but no crew. So now they must take their third roll and hope they get the crew. Okay, they got their crew. Now, since they used all 3 rolls, they are stuck with whatever cargo score they have, which is 7. And for a final example, let's see what happens if a player does not lock in a ship, a captain, and crew. All right, no ship, so they cannot lock in their captain. Roll number 2 coming up. All right, this time they did get a ship, but no captain and no crew. Roll number 3. They got crew, but no captain. So at the end of this player's turn, they would score 0 points because they did not get their ship, captain, and crew. Now let's talk about a few different ways to keep score. So first, you could just play for points and track it on a notepad. Each round, you write down each player's score, and whoever reaches a certain score first wins the game. Or you could play a predetermined number of rounds, and whoever has the highest score at the end of that wins. Of course, ties can be broken with a tiebreaker round. But we can also play this game with chips. And that's where I think things can get a little more interesting. So you could play an elimination game where each player starts with 3 chips, and whoever has the lowest score at the end of the round has to throw out a chip or throw it into the pot. And whoever is the last player with chips remaining wins the game. You could assign a monetary value to each chip. For example, each player could pay $1 a chip, and then whoever wins gets the pot. You could also play the first player out wins the game. So at the end of the round, whoever has the highest score throws in a chip. The first player to get rid of all their chips wins the game. And of course, if you're playing where each chip is $1, whoever got out first gets to collect the pot, which would be the total amount of money spent on chips. Another way would be to pay per round. So here's another money game where each player would have to pay $1 a round. So everyone throws in their dollar into the pot, and then whoever rolls the highest score at the end of the round takes the pot. If there's a tie, the pot stays in the middle and essentially doubles for the next round. So if we ended that first round and there was a tie for highest score, for the next round, everybody throws in another dollar or chip or however much money you're playing for. And whoever wins that next round gets the whole pot. And one more thing you can do if you are playing for bets, playing for real money, is you could have side bets. So we could play where this first round, everybody threw in their chip. They threw in their dollar or whatever money you're playing for. And somebody is taking their turn. So an example of a side bet would be, like this player just rolled, they got their ship, and maybe I'm watching, and I could say to the player to my left, I bet you $1 that they will not roll a captain on their next roll. They take that bet, player takes their next roll, and look at that, they did not get a captain, so then that player has to pay me $1. That's just one example of side betting, and you can do anything for side bets. It could be something like, I don't think they'll roll an even number. So let's say they have their ship, captain, and crew, and then I say to the player across from me, I bet you $1 they are not going to roll an even total. So their total is going to be odd. They're like, all right, I'll take that bet. Player takes their final roll, and they got an 8. So it was an even number. I lost that side bet. I pay them $1. So that can add a lot of excitement to the game. Not only are you competing for the main pot, but then you can kind of cut your losses by winning side bets. Now, I do have one tip for this game. When it is your turn, if you have another opportunity to roll and your cargo score is at 7 or above, based on probability, you should keep your score. Because with 2 dice, 7 is the most likely outcome. So chances are good that you're not going to be able to beat that score. Of course, 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, and 12s are harder and harder to get. The further away you get from 7, the harder that number is to get. So beating 7 is going to be pretty tricky. If you have the opportunity to roll again and your total is 6 or less, then you should roll again, because chances are good you will roll a 7, and chances are good that you'll roll something better than a 6 or lower. So that is the one strategy you can definitely take to heart to roll the best game possible. And that is how to play Ship, Captain, and Crew. Now, I did see online that some people like to play with different rules or different betting. So if you're already familiar with this game, share in the comments how you play. If you would like to learn how to play more dice games, I've got a playlist for you right here. And of course, if you found this video helpful, the best thing you can do is subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment down below. All of those things really help us out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep on playing.